Okay, with Golden Bow in hand, we can now make use of a very useful exploit. I guess it depends on what your definition is of a glitch versus a cheat versus an exploit. Because while we make our way to the Ryoa Spring over here, I suppose I could just talk about this really quick. I don't see use of glitches as cheating in a very technical way, specifically if it just affects you. If you're exploiting something in a PvP game, that's obviously different. You're affecting other people's gameplay. I see that as true cheating. Cheating, of course, in itself being, use of outside devices like aim assist and whatnot to make things easier for you, but ruining other people's experiences. Exploits, I suppose, the biggest part of this argument comes from what could be considered a glitchless category more than anything else. But this is definitely of the exploit department. It's not technically a glitch. Again, your definition will vary. What all I'm doing here is just using explicitly the mechanics given to me by the developers to do something very advantageous for myself. And of course, Breath of the Wild is a single-player game, so this isn't really a hindrance or any kind of invasive thing whatsoever, so it's totally fine. And it just makes sense, like I said, with the dominant strategy before, it would make sense since you need a good amount of money in this game. Funny enough, even more so than even Wind Waker, which up till this point was a more money-intensive installment in Zelda. But what we're going to do here is we'll actually explain some things. You've no doubt, in your first playthrough, noticed the dragons of 3 different kinds. Farosh, Dinra, and... Hold on, almost got it. Nope, don't have it. The yellow one, the red one, and the blue one. I'm sorry, that's essentially what they are. Farosh, the yellow one, are around correlation to the Lake of Courage, is going to be the dragon we're going to be using right now. Sorry, Forza haven't made me go towards the opening of that shrine. You don't necessarily need the Zora armor. This just, again, for my playthrough, makes things much easier. To make use of this exploit once or twice more, which we are going to be doing, I'll just cut it out the next time. Because this is going to get us a large amount of money and just valuable resources for uses of cooking, etc. So, some principles you want to understand here is that you can only get 1 piece of a dragon per day. This is going to explain why I need the torch, the wood, and the flint. You can also, that also means you have to aim well, otherwise you're just going to get, whatever shard you get for that day. If you hit him on the body, you will get a scale. If you hit them on their mouth, you will get a fang. If you hit them on the talon, you'll get a claw. And if you hit them on their horn, of course, you'll get a shard of the horn. And the horn is the most valuable part of what we'll be wanting here. So the reason I choose this space specifically is because there's an overhead. If it starts raining, it's going to put out the fire, and it's not going to work. Something I don't understand is whenever you rest at a fire for time to pass... Oh, he's coming right now. If you rest at a fire for time to pass, the fire will go out. I have no idea why this is. Maybe it was to make this more difficult to do? I don't know. But you're going to go ahead and you're going to want to equip the torch. Hopefully still have it from igniting the shrine in Hatsuno Village. You're going to want, not this, you want a flint. Now, hopefully you've come across a flint. They're not hard to get. There's a couple of ores that you saw around the area, but if you're following my path, you'll of course found one. What you want to do is to ignite it by hitting it, and it'll start the wood. Problem is, like I said, whenever we rest at the fire, it's going to dissipate. This is where the torch comes in. The torch will always be lit so long as it was lit before. So what I'm going to try and do here, notice I said try is because of hitbox interaction. I'm going to try and get the torch to land relatively close to this one. And for this reason, I'm going to want about 2, maybe 3 bales of wood. I'm going to put them in between the 2. So that way they chain to each other and then I don't have to keep doing this. So we're going to do another bit of a speed up section, but I'm going to show you, of course, for instance, right now, and you can use whatever arrows are available to you. It doesn't matter what element arrow, aside from bomb. I haven't used bomb against him, but I really wouldn't want to test that here. And I'm going to do something. Because he already passed, this is what I'm just going to keep doing. I'm going to keep resting until morning. And then once a day, he's always going to spawn in this location. For sure, this is one of the 3 areas that he'll always spawn. And then again, thanks for the torch. Do this. Use the gold bow, aim for about here. Let it go to his horn, and then let it hit it and flash right there, and it'll give us a shard. Now, I should actually mention, the first shot of any instance of hitting these dragons, regardless, is always going to be a scale. And that's because of a shine crest. Other than that, we're always going to be getting shards of the horn. Reason I say this is because whenever you want, specifically because we're above water, I should say, whenever you want a shard, you want to wait a few more seconds than you normally would. I could have sat immediately, but then the trajectory, you see how I waited it for there, is going to get messed up. And I found this out the hard way, because what we're going to do here is we're going to get upwards of 30 plus shard horns, or horn shards I should say, as I speed this section up. But if you rest at the bonfire too quickly, without the trajectory of the shard going down, what's going to happen is that it'll respawn everything, but it's going to drop it into the water. Why is this a problem? You can just swim up and get them, right? Well, wrong. Technically, in the game's coding, as long as these shards are falling, they are unobtainable. What are you doing here? Go away. As long as they're, they fall in the water, they're considered falling and thus unobtainable. So that's why you want to wait a few precious seconds. So what I'm going to do here is, now that I got that horn shard, is I'm going to go ahead and farm this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up, show you what it's like. You can pretty much catch on really quick what it's going to be like, and then we'll pick it up from there. Okay, so with all that done, usually what I do is I go until my golden bow breaks, but I actually didn't have that many arrows this time around. So you always want to pick up the torch because we still have another purpose for it. And if I didn't mention before, the reason you always want overhead is because whenever you restart a day, the weather is still going to be random, and naturally rain will always put out the fire, and that just defeats the purpose because you can't sit and pass time at a bonfire that isn't lit. So yeah, if you come out here and you see the fruits of our labor, you start to see something that looks like very much like a glitch, although technically it's an exploit, if I'm being very technical. And what we should have here is, I want to say, yeah, like I said, 30 plus Pharaoh horns, shards, with one scale, because the first shot off of any dragon is always going to be its scale. And I believe that's it over here. So yeah, these are 300 rupees each. Yeah, this is where your money problems go away. So what we're going to do after this section right now is we're going to do our second major glitch. And while we could have done it before, just for safety reasons, this does require a little bit of money. But you'll see and understand when we get there. And funny enough, like I said before, a few parts before, is that this is going to involve the apparatus storage again. So go ahead and pick up all these horns. I did end up losing one shard. It just happens occasionally that it'll lose its trajectory and it'll just fall into the water. Let's go see if we can find it. It'll be hard to miss. It'll be... Well, yep, there it is. So I did miss one. That's not too bad. We ended up with 43, so yeah, that's plenty. We can always come back here and do it again because we have the shrine. But what we're going to do now is our second major glitch. And for that, we always want to go back to Hatsuno Village. So we come back here to Hatsuno Village at the very same shrine that we're going to get the apparatus storage in. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cheat a cheater. That is, we're going to run a glitch on a cheater, technically speaking. If you know the lore of this game, you know that there is a statue over here of a person who did what he shouldn't have done and messed around with powers that he shouldn't have. And what it essentially is this is the game's way of getting around the issue of investing in stamina versus hearts if you came across the Master Sword later. But obviously, like I said, stamina is the most important stat in this game, first off, versus your hearts. Especially since we talked about how Hardy Durians can be used to pretty much keep your life going almost infinitely. It's like the soup glitch in Wind Waker. But what you're going to do here is we come to this statue, and... unfortunately, I was spamming B too much. And what's going to happen is you start this side quest where you can essentially use him as a container swap mechanic thing. But what we found out is that we can use this to not only shift around our status, but actually increase it to maximum, and even beyond. So what's going to happen here is that with this glitch, you need to be very careful as to the process, or the steps that you take. Now, he'll always take a heart container, unless, of course, you have just 3 hearts, and then he'll always take a stamina container. He won't do anything unless you have a container to, move around. So what we're going to do here is, what's going to happen is, well, I take it back. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to a goddess statue, and I'm going to bank my 4 spirit orbs, because I forgot to do that before this, so I'll be back then. Okay, so the reason this is important is thus. I now have 4 containers. In this case, they're all in stamina. One because he rearranged it and I put it into stamina. One because I finally banked the other 4 spirit orbs I had. Reason is, this dupe glitch is essentially going to work in doubles. What we do is, whatever amount of vessels that we store here are going to be doubled. So 4 is going to become 16, 4 is going to become 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, etc. And you can honestly keep doing this infinitely. So what we're going to do is, in order to do this glitch, you always want to turn in as many containers as you can. In this case, we're going to turn in 4. Okay, now all 4 have been turned in. This is very essential, because this is where you can get the setup wrong. This is where the steps can get messed up. You always want to save after you've sold all of your vessels. So this is going to be our new anchor point. Now, for the steps of this glitch, buy them all back. Okay, and that makes 4. So now that you've bought them all back, here's where the apparatus glitch is going to become important. And we're going to do kind of the same thing we did with the early Master Sword, but a little bit different. You'll see how. We just make our way over to, again, you'll need a shield, but of course you should have a shield by now. You go ahead and make your way to the apparatus, and we're going to do storage, but we're going to do something a little bit different, because we're going to hold an item in between it, and don't ask me why. It's one of those things where I just know how a glitch works, or what to do to make a glitch work. I just don't know why it works. It'll be something interesting to look into. But in order to, because before we were displacing Link's location, but in this case we're going to be displacing his status in between load points. So, as before, you do the apparatus glitch. Make sure you have your shield out. There you go. You do crouch and camera at the same time. Go ahead and take the picture. But this time, instead of deleting and then going into our menu, we're actually going to take the time to hold something. It really doesn't matter what it is. It can be an apple. It can be whatever you can hold. But here's the difference. I am going to press B, but then I'm going to press minus because I need to get into my memory section, which is actually in plus. So let me go ahead and amend that. So once you go to your memory section, what you're going to do is you're going to play a memory, except this time it's not going to work. The memory should be playing right now, but it's not. And that's when you know you did this glitch proper. Something you'll notice is that the item I'm holding is gone. I'm using the apparatus, but I can still control Link. And that's when you know that the storage is successful. So this is where the next step comes in. We're going to go to our load, and then we're going to load in where we saved at our anchor point. Now that we've loaded back, you'll notice that we still have our stamina wheel at max, but when we talk to the statue again, we still have 4 vessels invested here. And so that means you did the glitch successfully. But, and this is where I should heavily specify, make sure you sell everything to him first. So what we're going to do is, we've just duped 4 stamina vessels. We're going to sell the stamina vessels back. Just because I want to max out my stamina vessels first, that's just what I'm doing. You can honestly put them again into hearts or stamina, whatever you want. But I'm going to kind of skip to where that's done. And so once that's done, you will have 8 invested in the statue. Now save again. And this will be your new anchor point. Then you're going to buy them all back. And now that they're all sold again, we're going to go do the apparatus storage again. Remember to have your camera out, take out your shield, crouch and then use camera. Go ahead and take a picture. Delete, go into your menu, but this time you're going to hold something. Back out, go into your menu, bring up the adventure log, bring up a memory. That's not going to work. Back out, and then load again. And you'll notice that we keep, well, our stamina vessels. And you can just keep doing this until you have max stats. I'm actually going to stop just short. Just because, well, it's really not necessary with how the durians work. I'm going to sell them all my vessels again and then save, and then we're going to do this one more time. Okay, so that was quite a journey, but if you'll notice, we now have full stamina and 25 hearts. The reason being is we still have 3 divine beasts who are going to give us a heart container, and the other 2 can be covered by the durian to make use of some of that. But we win in the end. It's just there's no reason not to do this now that you can do it. But you will notice something. Wink. Link kind of weighs like a hammer. So in order to fix this, what I like to do is, all you need to do is teleport somewhere else and do something. So what I like to do is go to Riverside Stable, since we already unlocked it. And then we're going to go meet our friendly NPC, Hetsu. And then what we'll do is extend our inventory a little bit because, well, we kind of need to do that anyway. But this interaction, I find, makes sure everything is solidified. You don't have to worry about, loading the game back in and then suddenly your boosted stats are halved, which somehow undoes the glitch a little bit. It's a bit finicky, don't get me wrong. It takes a few times to actually do this. It's not simply a matter of stop and go and then plug in, repeat. You do really need to make note of the sequence of how you do your events. But it should work out just fine. Okay, so all I've really done was expand my weapon stash by 2 and my bow stash by 2. Hetsu should also now be in Korok Forest if you ever want to go meet him again, even though we didn't satisfy the text boxes needed for him to say he needs to head up north to his grandpa again. But with that being said, we've already buffed all of our stats. All we need to do now is make use of those shards. And so, if you couldn't tell, that I prefer Zoro's Domain as my one-stop place to shop and to cook. We're going to go ahead and we're going to replenish the arrows we used.
Aye.
And then this is always a good place for me to get Swift Violets, which are highly potent in the movement meal. And then I'm going to make use of the shards by selling them. Not all of them. I'm going to go ahead and sell about 20. That's a pretty sizable amount. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prepare some dishes. You'll notice by adding the Farash Horn, we get the 30 minutes movement boost. And now that we have full stats, all I have to do is cook a single Hardy Durian. And I will always have just pretty much infinite health. Free and open and ready for me to use whenever I want. So, in the interest of time, I believe I'm just going to head to Gerudo Tower, where we will be making our way to Rito Village to do our second Divine Beast, because Rivali's Gale is actually worth it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the glitches and exploits used in this video, and can of course make use of them yourselves now. And we will be making our way northwards towards Rito Village. And hope to see you